At first glance, Skyrim is a land of heroes and history. It's a place where ancient dragons awaken, civil wars threaten to tear the realm apart, and every third person on the street has something really important to say about Talos. It's a world built on power, magic, gods, philosophy. But if you spend enough time in Skyrim, walking instead of fast travelling, listening instead of rushing, you'll notice something strange, something that has nothing to do with the war, or prophecy, or fate. The animals are smarter than everyone else. No, really, they don't write books, they don't build cities, but they understand things that the people of Skyrim, in all their mead-drenched wisdom, seem to have forgotten. Like how to survive, how to avoid trouble, how to quietly outlast an empire's worth of shouting. They don't talk about wisdom, they really live it. And the deeper you go into Skyrim, the more it becomes clear. The animals might be the only ones here who actually know what they're doing. It's easy to assume that Skyrim's people are the smart ones. They have speech trees after all. They wear robes and call themselves scholars. They built towers, teach magic, run governments. But all of that collapses under pressure. Cities burn, mages summon things they can't control, Jarls make the same bad decisions over and over and over again and still call it leadership. Humans are obsessed with thinking they're smarter than the world they live in. But every tavern bard with a hangover is convinced they have the answer, that they understand Skyrim's true nature. Meanwhile, the animals never really claim anything at all. They don't ask for power, they don't try to rule. They just live quietly, successfully, without ever getting caught up in the apocalyptic drama that the humans can't seem to avoid. For example, foxes in Skyrim are infamous, not because they attack you or carry diseases, but because they run. They run the moment they see you, not because they're cowards, but because they have absolutely zero interest in whatever nonsense you're about to get involved in. Bandits, cults, nope, foxes know better. And here's the weird part. Sometimes they will lead you to treasure. People used to think this was a myth, but in practice, foxes often run towards hidden paths, caves, or chests. Whether that's by design, which it probably is, or a happy accident of pathfinding AI, one thing is clear. Foxes get you to places you'd never think to look. Meanwhile, humans in Skyrim are constantly trying to trick you into getting them killed. Animals in Skyrim aren't designed to look intelligent. They don't wear glasses or quote the Oblivion Crisis, but if you pay attention to how they behave, it becomes obvious. There's a logic to everything they do. They know how to stay away from danger, they only fight when it makes sense. They move through the world like they belong in it, not like they're trying to conquer it. Where humans will charge into a crypt filled with the undead, animals will wait outside and let natural selection sort it out. In other words, they adapt. Skyrim's animals don't resist the world, they actually understand it. And that understanding, quiet as it is, puts them light years ahead of most people in the game. One of the weirdest things about Skyrim is how dramatic its people are. Every town you visit is on the verge of collapse. There's always a feud, a betrayal, or a ghost problem. People yell at you in the streets, they want you to kill their uncle or investigate a haunted house or join a cult. No one is just chilling. It's like the entire population has a shared disease, the inability to leave things alone. But animals? They're on a completely different frequency. They don't start conflicts, rarely. They don't hold grudges. They don't make up elaborate stories about their childhood trauma to justify terrible decisions. And to be honest, I don't think they would even if they could speak. They just live. If they're hungry, they eat. If they're threatened, they run. If they're tired, they sleep. Humans mistake this simplicity for stupidity, but maybe the animals just figured out how to live without chaos. We like to believe that intelligence means complexity, that the more complicated something is, the smarter it must be. But in Skyrim, that assumption falls apart, because the most complicated people in the game, mages, nobles, warlocks, are often the ones making the worst decisions. They try to control the Daedra, they build secret labs under the cities, they unleash plagues because they didn't read the fine print on a spell scroll. They overthink everything, and they do pay for it in the end. But most animals don't need a plan, do they? They follow instinct. And in a world full of necromancers who keep accidentally raising the wrong corpse, instincts start to look a lot like genius. It's not that the animals are playing 4D chess, it's that they're playing no chess at all. They're not really trying to win, are they? They're just trying to survive. And that's a smarter goal than most of Skyrim's self-proclaimed masterminds ever reach. Think about this. Empires fall in Skyrim. The Septims, the Blades, the Dragon Cult, every single one of them thought they were permanent. They built monuments, declared themselves chosen, thought they were untouchable, and now they're gone. They're just ruins, tombs, ghost stories. But the wolves are still here. The birds still fly over Whiterun, the deer still sprint through the trees like they've been doing it for 1,000 years. Because while the humans were building altars to their own egos, the animals were just being alive, quietly and pretty much effectively. They don't need a kingdom, do they? They needed a path, a den, and a little bit of space. And when the towers fell and the armies crumbled, they didn't mourn, they just kept walking. They didn't even care what was happening in the human world, because why would you? Okay, there is one problem in Skyrim. Humans in the game believe they control the world, that they can shape it with shouts, swords, and scrolls. But the animals never make that mistake. They don't try to reshape the mountains or defy the seasons, they flow with them. They know when to migrate, when to shelter, when to stay away from the angry glowing cave. They live with the world and not against it. And that makes them smarter than anyone sitting on a throne, because real wisdom isn't domination, it's understanding. It's knowing your place in the pattern and not needing to rewrite it. Sometimes in Skyrim, you'll find yourself in a rare moment when nothing is happening. No one is shouting about dragons, no one is offering to sell you the finest weapons and armor. No one's even asking you to retrieve their grandpa's favourite spoon from a spider-infested cave. Just silence. Maybe a fox, maybe a goat standing on top of a rock for reasons that no one fully understands. And in that silence, it hits you. The animals, they prefer this. They're not sprinting to the nearest fort to join a war they don't understand. They're not yelling about the Empire this or Talos that. They're just vibing. Meanwhile, you are running around in armor made from a crab trying to kill a skeleton king because a ghost dared you to. But the goat doesn't really care. The goat's on a cliff somewhere questioning gravity and chewing grass like it's aged wine. That goat is living its best life, and it didn't need a quest marker to find it. At some point, you have to ask, are the animals avoiding trouble, or are they avoiding us? Because if I were a fox in Skyrim, I'd run away too. Especially if I saw myself or you coming. Sometimes watching the animals in Skyrim, you get the feeling that they're in on a joke the rest of the world hasn't figured out. Like they know none of this matters. That the civil war will end and another one will start. That the dragons will rise and fall and rise again. That some kid in a tavern will keep yelling about his sweet roll and it won't change a thing. But the animals, they don't care about the Dragonborn. They don't care about destiny. They're not here to save or destroy the world. They're just living and watching. And maybe, just maybe, they're the only ones who really understand Skyrim for what it is. A beautiful, chaotic, violent, hilarious world that doesn't need to be solved, just experienced. And that kind of wisdom, that's not dumb at all. So what does it mean to be smart in a world like Skyrim? Is it shouting enemies off cliffs, mastering every spell, solving every side quest? Or is it knowing how to keep going, no matter what dragon flies overhead or what prophecy gets fulfilled? Because if intelligence is about adaptability and knowing when not to get involved, then Skyrim's animals aren't just smart, they're brilliant. They figure out something the rest of the world forgot. The peace isn't something you fight for, it's something you practice. And sometimes the wisest thing you can do is simply walk away.